Hi, I'm Kim. I'd like to share some ideas around preparing a client for the last session of counselling. So, as we know, it really helps if people feel they have a sense of knowing what's going to happen next. We've all learnt that in COVID, that can make us very distressed if things are suddenly thrown upon us. So again, if you're working with a child and you know that you probably will finish the work in the winter, you might say, look, when you start wearing a beanie to school, that's about the time we'll be winding up our work together. So if it's with an adult, an EAP client, you might say, look, we've had 4 now of the 6 sessions. What would you like to do next to make sure those last 2 sessions are productive, etc. So really to make sure the client is close to the beginning of the therapeutic work you're doing, give them a sense that this will end. It doesn't mean that we don't want them to form an attachment to us. Very often they will. They'll have had attachment trauma in childhood. But John Bowlby, the man who first kind of coined that phrase and brought it to our awareness about attachment, he says the therapist's role is analogous to that of a mother who provides her child with a secure base from which to explore the world. So, we don't have to stop people forming an attachment to us, but we need to be quite clear with boundaries, etc., about what's the nature of this working relationship. I don't talk to clients about the therapeutic relationship because it can confuse some of them, but the working relationship is a good phrase, or the therapeutic alliance. And really, we need to anticipate that even we can do all these things, but in the end, in that second last session and the last session, the client may be going through some of the grief and loss about losing this time in their life where they were comfortable coming to talk to us about problems, and they could share stories in ways that made them feel more strong about who they are in the world. And we've been there walking beside them as their identity is evolving. So, again, in that last session, we need to be right up front and prepare to hear the body of the client tell us it's going through grief and loss. So potentially we can say, how are you feeling today? This is our last session. It could be that you're going through some feelings of, I really can't believe it, or isn't there a way I can still keep seeing you? Or perhaps even maybe you're a little bit angry that I'm moving on. What's going on for you, and your body will be sharing that with you. So let's tune in, take a breath, put your hand on the heart or the belly, and tell me what's going on for you when this is our last session. And we sit with the client with that. We can, even ask if that replicates an earlier experience, and acknowledge that pain. And then we need to move the client to a gathering of what they've achieved. And sometimes it's they've become a better listener to their partner, or they've achieved a realization that mum and dad are stuck in patterns, whatever it is. So, grab a piece of coloured paper, if it's an in-person session, and put, achievements on the top, or whatever you agree to do, to write, and see if you can come up with 3 kind of dot points of things that the client has achieved. We're looking at change, something they've changed. And then at the bottom, depending on the age of the client, you can both sign the document and date it, so that they've got something to hold on to. But I think the main thing is we don't use words like termination, because really, once someone has met you, even when they never see you again, if the experience has been profound, which counselling is, you become an internalized mentor, if you like, for the client. They'll often say, if they come back a couple of years later, oh, I went through a difficult time last year, and I thought of our sessions together, and I used to think to myself, well, what would Kim say? So, yeah, preparing the client for the last session, I think it's really important. And of course, you might not get it perfect, and you might think, oh, I've done all those last sessions a bit coldly, or saying, oh, someone else is taking over. It doesn't matter. Once you can feel it from the client's point of view, then maybe the next time you're coming to the closure of a case, of what you're able to offer because of your agency or whatever, you can help that client in advance, and in that last session in particular, anticipate some grief and loss. And they'll be moving from, that disbelief, bargaining, anger, low mood. You can even say, you might wake up with a bit of a low mood in a few days, realizing that next week won't be available. And then in the end, my hope is that you find a way to support yourself through the work we've done, but reach out again when you need help. Hope this has been helpful.